What's up, guys? I hope you've been enjoying Testimony Tuesday. There's been a lot of great response after the first post, and super grateful for it. But again, just make sure that you're sharing these. So this next testimony that's coming up is near and dear to my heart. As I stated in the last one, it's my brother, and man, I'm super excited for you guys to watch it. All right.
Hey guys. So my brother asked me to give my testimony, and at first I was kind of leery. Um, Talking about myself isn't really something I do a lot. But he asked me to do it, and you know, I thought about it and I prayed about it, and I thought that if my story might be able to help one person, then so be it. I apologize for any background noise. I kind of live next to a busy street, so there might be a little bit of car noise going by. But I guess if you see me looking away, it looks like I'm reading off of something. I'm sorry, but I am. I just wanted to make sure that I get touch on all the points I want to touch on, just so I make sure I really kind of tell you guys the whole story. So my past has been filled with a lot of mistakes and hatred, self-loathing, and I carried these things around. They were really buried deep in me, and it caused me a lot of grief in my life. I lashed out at everyone around me, employees, employers, my ex's kids, my ex-wife, even members of my own family, and it even led to some major issues. When I'd be going through problems, I would talk to my brother or my dad. They just kept talking to me about prayer and about Jesus, and it would make me even more upset and angry because I was a practicing pagan at the time. I thought I knew better than to listen to some Jesus freak. My way was better. They kept bringing it up so much that I honestly stopped going to them with my problems because I just felt like they were just piling onto the issues, and I didn't want to hear it. And the problems just kept building. And then my marriage fell apart. I closed my business. I didn't have a job. I was literally losing everything I had. Thought about suicide daily, most of the time, several times a day. When everything was falling apart, I made the decision to move back home to Wyoming. And when I started the car that morning to leave, I even hoped I'd encounter some snow and slick roads, and I could drive off of a cliff or crash the car, hoping I'd die. That way my family wouldn't hate me for a suicide and they just think I died in an accident. The night before I left town, my brother sent me a message in a plea, really, to finally try to get through to me. He asked me what I had to lose. Nothing, I guess. His plea was to listen to KLOVE during my trip. He even plotted out, okay, so when you get here, this is the station they're on. When you get here, this is the station they're on. Because KLOVE moved from station to station depending on what market you were in. But he also said to really truly listen to the lyrics they were singing, not just the melody or just hear the song. Really truly listen. And then I hit the edge of Vegas as I'm leaving town, and that's when everything changed. Start a Fire by Unspoken came on, and as I really did listen to the words, and it was honestly the beat that grabbed me first, but then I started to listen to those words and I started to tear up. So here I was, I'm on the freeway, everything I owned was packed into my car. I was alone. I screamed as loud as I could for about 5 minutes. Tears just kept coming. I hadn't cried like that in years. But I still knew better than they did. I knew God wasn't on my side, and how could there be a God? And he let all of these bad things happen in my life that was falling apart around me. I mean, I had people praying for me, supposedly, so if this God is real, what's the deal there? And I kind of started a conversation with God at that point. I said, okay, if you're real, why do you hate me? Why'd you take everything from me? Why do you continue to let bad things happen to me? Why did you make me such a screw up if you have these great things in store for me? I was under the delusion I was a good person, and it was just everyone else that was messed up. This went on for about 24 hours, and even through the snowstorm I was dreaming for. I'd stopped in Salt Lake and got a room for the night, but only slept for about 3 hours. So in the middle of the night, headed out again, still in the argument, still driving in the snow. Visibility was so low that the only way I could see the road was I had to stay about 6 feet behind a truck, big rig, just so I could watch the headlights, or the taillights rather, even after the sun came up. So with low visibility and trying to be careful, driving about 25 miles an hour on I-80, I started to cry again. I had to pull over. I mean, I couldn't even see the road, and tears made it worse, and the truck that I had been traveling behind just got off on a rest stop, so I had no choice but to follow him. When we got off at that rest stop, I decided I'm going to stay here for a while, and I'm going to park and just try to gather myself. And I did something that I'm eternally thankful that I did, but at the same time, something you really probably shouldn't do. I gave God an ultimatum. I said, fine, if you want me, prove to me you're real. Show me a sign that would make me absolutely certain it's you. And after I said that, I got out of the car, walked into the rest stop for a few minutes, stretched my legs, and I went back to my car. Wind's blowing, just crazy, snow flying sideways, a wind chill so low I hadn't seen it in over 20 years since I left Wyoming. I got back into my car and just kind of breathed real deep. What am I going to do? This would be a perfect opportunity to crash the car and end it all. Nobody'd suspect a thing. Just run it off the road. I can really do this and nobody's going to know anything. So I sat back, breathed a real heavy sigh again, and about that time something caught my eye. In my head I'm thinking, what the heck in the world is that? It's a hawk. We're in the middle of nowhere in a snowstorm with the wind blowing like crazy. There's no reason this hawk should be perched up on top of the building, especially in this weather. And something happened at that point that really made me understand exactly why he was there. I got my answer. There's no way this bird would be out there unless he was put there to answer my prayer. Just then, this wave of just hurt and regret and pain and emotion just really set over me. And in my head, I heard someone say, I'm here and I love you. If you let me, I will help you. And it was right then and there that I prayed and I asked Jesus into my heart. After about a half hour crying, screaming, praying, more pleading to God to help me, I got back on the road, drove home to my dad's house, and life started to improve. Things got so much better. Got a job, started going to church, started to develop a relationship with Jesus. Since accepting Christ, it hasn't all been wine and roses. This is a pretty extensive book, and there's a lot of stuff in it. But what's not in it anywhere is that being a Christian is going to be an easy road. Matter of fact, it says a lot of times that it's the exact opposite. I've lost jobs. While I initially fixed my marriage, that's now ended. But it's okay, because I know God has better things in store for me. My marriage was, we grew apart, and unfortunately, it happens. Currently, I'm waiting to start a new job because I lost another job. But I look at things so much differently now. When you go through things, it's not that God does it to us. We face attacks from the enemy from all sides. And if it's things that can possibly make us lose our faith, it makes it even harder. With God, all things are possible. It's always about His plan and His time, not ours. There's times when I've become a lukewarm Christian, and that's usually when things start to happen, and God reminds me of exactly whose I am. Not who I am, but whose. He reminds me that the enemy's real, and he will try, and he will hurt you. And he'll take things out of your life. He'll bring things into your life, struggles and trials. But it's how you approach those things. You pray. You give it to God. And in the end, God will make sure you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And my brother taught me something, as a new Christian, that I try to live out every day. And I actually have tattooed on my arm. As you'll see, there's ink missing from the cross. The verse across the red is John 3:30. He must become greater and I must become less. I keep that, and there's intentionally ink missing from the cross because I know I will never be like Him. But if I try every day to be more and more like Him, I'll be okay. So I try and live that John 3:30 every day. Because I fail Him daily. But even at my worst, He's never failed me. I failed me. I failed Him. But He's never failed me. And He'll never fail you either. So thank you guys. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. And if I can help just one person, if my story helps you understand exactly what God has for you, then I'm doing okay. God bless you guys. John 3:30. Bye.
Well, there you have it. For me, it's pretty strong because living through what I've lived through, and then I love my brother. He and I were brothers, right? So we fought, didn't get along at times, and then when we grew up, we didn't travel down the same paths. So, and then there was times, you heard his testimony, and there was times that I would call him on the phone, and you do the whole birthday and Christmas, and you just call him up, and we would keep everything on surface level and talk, and man, and then it was never failed. I would bring up God, or I'd bring up I'm praying for you, and man, he'd get so upset and he'd hang up the phone, and for me, I would sit there and flesh would take over and I'd become angry, but I'm like, I just continue to pray for him. And so with that, I know that there's people in your lives that are doing the same thing, or you might be doing the same thing. And I just encourage you to, if you are the one that's doing it, just listen with an open heart and an open mind. But if you're the one that's a continuation of, calling them and bringing God into their life, man, just keep doing it. Do it sweetly, with that heart of giving and loving, because that spirit will shine through. And then, with that, there are resources and tools that you guys have. For me, in that moment, it was KLOVE. Fully believe in KLOVE. And for me, in those moments, man, that was what I was feeling led to do. And ultimately, it was not my words, it was the words coming from the radio, which, being on tour, I heard quite a bit. It was the songs and the words of different artists that helped save these individuals, and it just so happened that it was my brother. So super grateful for music, but the guys from Unspoken doing what they're doing. And guys, it's just, I'll be honest with you. In my other video, I talked about the ripple effect and what that looks like. And for me, like the ripple effect of my parents making a decision to adopt me, but then my decision to give my life to Christ. And I explained it as like the tidal wave. And so, as you've heard, my brother is part of that tidal wave. And that story is, he's creating his own tidal wave. And in essence, it's all the kingdom, right? We're building the kingdom of Christ. And once that kingdom is starting to build and then has a sweet momentum, man, what a beautiful picture that is. So guys, make sure that you're sharing these. Again, I stated before, the subscription part of this, and then you can hit the notification and you just see when these things drop. And super grateful for all the comments. People have been hitting me up on Facebook and text messages, and super encouraging. And people are getting me their videos. So if you are watching this and you have a testimony or story to tell about God and his greatness, hit me up. So in the description, I'll leave my email address. I would love that you make a video similar to one that I made, similar to one that my brother made. And then there's a lot of other people who are making them. And then email me. And a lot of times the videos are too big for regular email. So just put them in a Dropbox or a Google Drive and then email me the link. And I encourage them to be long. I encourage them to be longer than normal. Than sometimes when you give your testimony, they tell you, hey, you've got 5 minutes, get up there and do what tell your story. And honestly, 5 minutes is great for some people, but I like to talk. And so 5 minutes just really doesn't cut it. And if you want the full picture, the unedited version, and even like, I just had somebody send me a testimony that was like, hey, this is a PG version. So just give you a heads up, if there is some things in the videos that they're going to be talking about with their testimony, I'll disclaim that right off the bat. Like, hey guys, make sure that this is the PG-13. So with that being said, guys, if you are one of those people who would love to get your story out there, I'd love that. I would encourage that, because I fully believe, like I said before, people are at home suffering in silence, and let's be a light in those areas of darkness. Let's get into their phones and their computers and, in their living rooms on, like the smart TVs and whatnot. Let's just love on our neighbors and give them an opportunity to find some comfort and solace in our stories, our testimonies. And then in essence, like I've said before, and I think it's going to be, man, I'd love it to be like a tagline of Testimony Tuesday would be, let's save the world one click at a time. All right, guys, I love you. There's going to be some pictures. Enjoy.